Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the monthly meeting of the Bismarck Board of Park Commissioners. I will call the meeting to order and ask Julie to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Redmond?
Here.
Jeske? President Zimmerman?
Here. The second item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise and join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The third item on the agenda is approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gilbertson, second by Commissioner Redmond. Julie, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson?
Aye.
Herzog?
Yes.
Redmond?
Aye.
President Zimmerman?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is our featured partners and programs. And it's my pleasure tonight to introduce a longtime friend and very active community member, Mike Wolf. Yeah, Mike Wolf. I was going to say, Mike Wall there from it, but Mike Wolf.
He might talk later.
Okay. Good evening, Mike, and we're looking forward to an update here on the 50th anniversary of the McQuaid tournament.
Well, good evening. Thank you for inviting us tonight. It's our 50th year, as a lot of you well know, which is an amazing accomplishment for any organization to last 50 years when it deals with charities and events that go on throughout the course of the year. So we're very proud of that and proud of the fact of Sam McQuaid Sr. for his vision to even start this tournament in the first place. It started out basically for developmentally disabled individuals who attended summer camps. They were struggling to survive back in the 70s and 80s, and parents weren't able to pay the fees for their kids to go to camp. So he had that vision to do that, and it's continued to this day where we've went from a handful of charities to probably close to 80 charities that we support through the funds that we receive from our tournament. And we've estimated that in that 50 years, we've probably given well over $3 million back to the Bismarck-Mandan community and some locations around the state as well. So it's been a great event for the Bismarck-Mandan community and for our state as well. So we do have a lot of stuff going on this year for the tournament, being it's our 50th anniversary. So we've been working, quite a bit on that. We have a great board of directors who, kind of take their different areas and they run with it. So none of us are really worried about something, not getting done, which is important when we have as much as we need to organize throughout the course of the year. So we're actually going to kick off our weekend with a concert with Johnny Holm down at the depot. It'll be the first concert that'll be held down there, which is the old Fiesta Villa, for those of you who don't know where the depot would be. So that'll be Thursday night. You can get those tickets online through the Larks. We've partnered with Fanatics, and they're taking all of that on for the organization of that and selling tickets, and then we will get a donation back to the tournament from the proceeds that we raise from that concert. So they've been a great help in assisting us with that process. So Friday we'll have an afternoon event at Shields, partnering with them to do some things at Shields, have the USA Patriots down there. We're also having, besides the USA Patriots come in, which is the amputee team made up of military veterans who lost a limb while serving our country. They've been a great addition to our tournament. They're coming back. And this year, we're also bringing in some of the ghost players from the Field of Dreams movie. And they're going to come in and do an exhibition game with the USA Patriots and help with some of our Special Olympic events. And then this will be our third year where we've partnered with the North Dakota State Penitentiary, where we have an exhibition softball game out at the penitentiary that's made up of residents from the penitentiary who will play the USA Patriots. And so it's been a great community event as far as that's concerned. It's really something for the residents to look forward to throughout the course of the year. The people I work with says it keeps those people on great behavior throughout the course of the year so they don't, lose their privilege to do that game. And we had one guy who umpired it last year, and I saw when I was out there last week, I do an umpire clinic out there for the players and umpires, and he said, yeah, I got a little trouble, so I can't do it this year. So he's really disappointed, but he says, I guarantee I'll be back here, next year to do that. So it's a great community event to partner with that, and the Missouri River Correctional Center is actually putting together a team that will actually be participating in the tournament this year. So they'll be letting some of those residents come and actually play in the tournament. So it'll be a great opportunity for them to do that. So we have a lot of pre-activity stuff going on prior to the tournament starting. We'll kick off Friday night with our exhibition game between the USA Patriots and the Ghost players. Will play an exhibition game. And then each year for the past several years, probably the past 10 or 15 years, we've had a military appreciation and first responders appreciation game. So we'll have some people from law enforcement playing some people from the fire department. So it's always been a great event, and they always look forward to doing that. And it's a small way for us to thank them for their service that they provide throughout the year to our community too. We have our cancer awareness game. This will be, we started that in 2015. So we have our Cancer Awareness Day where I do get some sponsors to help buy some cancer awareness hats and shirts and stuff for our umpires that they wear throughout the course of the day. And we do sell some of that stuff as well. And then the proceeds that we raise from that goes directly back to the Bismarck Cancer Center and maybe some patients who are dealing with cancer issues for travel and expenses and those type of things. And we provide gift cards to the Bismarck Cancer Center. I think last year we raised about $6,000 just that day from our Cancer Awareness Day and game. And then we give it back to them in gift cards, and then they in turn pass that on to cancer patients to help pay for gas and food and lodging and those type of things. So it's a win-win for both the cancer center to be able to provide that and also for those cancer patients to be able to receive those gift cards to help assist them in their expenses. Sunday we have our probably one of the best events of the weekend is our Special Olympics game between the Bismarck and Mandan Special Olympic teams. I always tell people if you come to watch one thing at the tournament throughout the course of the weekend, it would be to watch our Special Olympic athletes play in their game. It's a pretty humbling experience for competitive people. I've had people come and watch that to play in the highest divisions, and they have people on the field that don't complain about anything. They have fun. They're cheering on their opposition, and it's just great. And I had a guy one year who played in the highest division, and he was sitting in the stands, and I knew him to be somebody that complained plenty throughout the course of his career. And he looked at me, he says, boy, it's pretty humbling, isn't it? And I said, it really is, isn't it? I said, do you think seeing this will help make you a better player on the field? And he looked at me and he says, probably, unfortunately not. But he said it was something really nice to see watching those athletes play, and they have a great time. So we're really proud to be able to sponsor that game for the Special Olympics. We're having the Clydesdales here this year. The Clydesdales are coming for the 50th annual. They will be at the tournament on Friday night for the opening ceremony. And then they have a day of rest on Saturday, and I believe that the community is going to be able to go see them at the Civic Center if they don't catch them at the Diamond, so they can watch our Facebook page for information on when they could go see the Clydesdales. And then we'll have them back again on Sunday for our trophy presentation as well. So they're always a good draw for people coming to the tournament. So. Our volunteer groups, we probably couldn't do this tournament without our volunteer groups. I travel to softball events and conferences all over the country, and McQuaid is known all over the United States. Anybody involved in the softball world knows about that, and they say, how can you run a tournament of that magnitude. And I always tell them, the first thing I tell them is we can't do it without our volunteer groups, because it's a win-win for us and them. You know, they're the ones that basically get the proceeds from our tournaments. And people tell me all the time, well, where we live, we could not get people to help like that. We don't have the volunteer base to do that. So it's worked out great for our volunteer groups over the years, and it's worked out great for us when there's people taking tickets, selling T-shirts, cleaning up the diamonds each night after the games. And a lot of people don't realize everything it takes to organize something. You know, the teams show up and there happens to be an umpire on the field. There had to be a bracket so they knew where to go. Somebody magically drug the diamonds and chalked the fields, you know, and people I don't think really have or understand the magnitude of what it takes to run not only our event, it's any people that are running charity events to put on their events. We are also doing a couple commemorative bats. We had 2 bat companies come to us and partner with us, so we're making a couple 50th anniversary bats. One company's making 50 only and going to number them, so they'll probably be, you know, pretty popular, and the other company's making 100. So I'm sure that'll be a popular thing for people. And then I did design a commemorative coin that we're going to have available. We're going to give those to all of our umpires, and then we'll have some extra to sell to anybody who would, you know, might want one of those. So it'll be a good memento of our 50th anniversary. So, and speaking of the umpires, they're another integral part of the game. I mean, we can't do this tournament without players or umpires, and a lot of our umpires donate all of their time, and they donate all their travel. If they're coming from out of state, they pay their way to get here. And when we have people that are flying from Connecticut and Maryland and California and Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, they're coming from everywhere all over the country. We have some first-time umpires coming from Alabama this year. I've had several people say that this is their bucket list tournament. You know, they've known about it, but have never had the opportunity to get here. And so they're coming this year. They said they wanted to do it. And of course, the 50th year is a good year to do that. So I think I have 123 umpires coming from, you know, Bismarck, Mandan, around North Dakota, and then throughout the country. And so we've built a good squad of umpires. When I first started back in '91, we had as many or more teams, and we did this whole tournament on about 80 to 85 umpires. So we've built a good umpire base, and it lessens the load for umpires. They're not working 16 or 18 games during the weekend. They might be doing 10 or 12 throughout the weekend. So we appreciate what they do and what they donate back to the tournament. I think last year the umpires donated probably about $6,000 worth of game fees back to our tournament that goes directly back to our charities. So, you know, it's a combination of everybody. It's the fans who pay a gate fee to get into the games. They buy T-shirts and hats, and we have a silent auction. And so it's the combination of everybody coming together to make the tournament, you know, the success that it has been. So that's kind of some of the things that are going on. We'll have plenty of shirts and hats and stuff for sale. We're doing an online store for the first time this year, so we can offer some different items where we don't have to have them in stock, and people can order what they may want to order too. So that'll be a nice little feature we feel this year as well. So,
Mike, I'm going to hold you up there for a couple of minutes and ask if our commissioners have comments or questions of Mike. We'll start, Commissioner Gilbertson.
Sure, I guess. President
If you wish,
Zimmerman,
yes.
My one question is, how have registration started, and what do you anticipate the numbers?
Yeah, registration is open. We're almost closed. We'll probably be closed by the end of this week. We're probably at around the 310 to 320 mark with teams. We're down a little bit in teams, but softball is down, not only in North Dakota but around the country too. And I'm sure, you know, the economy might come into it too when teams are traveling from Arizona and Colorado and Florida and all those places. But
Still a good number.
but it's still good numbers. There's nothing like it in the United States that runs a 2.5-day tournament and where 100% of the proceeds go to charity. Yeah.
Are there bigger tournaments?
No, there's no bigger tournaments than that. I'd say probably there might be some teams in the 175 to 200, but those are people, and those are usually in the youth fast pitch areas. And those people are for-profit groups they're making money on the tournaments and stuff too.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Redmond?
Thanks, President Zimmerman. First of all, Mike, thank you very much. I know you're going to say it's a team effort, but there's little sprinkles of Mike Wolf all throughout the McQuaid tournament. So I just want to thank you for all your work, because I know there's hours and hours that you put in personally for this. So thanks for that. When you said there's 123 umpires, I thought you were going to say there's 123 people staying at your house, because I know there's rumors of how many people are camped in your yard and throughout your neighborhood. But I know that that's the kind of effort you put into having people and these umpires stay with you. So, but thanks so much. I'm just so impressed by how many lives are touched by McQuaid Tournament, all these nonprofit organizations, by putting in some sweat equity and then receiving a check for their work. So thanks so much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I wish everybody could come to our banquet. And you are all invited too. And I'll try to make sure I get a hold of Kevin and Kevin's been to our banquet several times. And to hear the stories that these organizations tell is amazing. And then, you know, there's some days all of us on the board say, some days we ask ourselves, what are we doing and why do we do this? And then you get to the banquet when it's all over with and you hear the stories of how the funds help these organizations, and you say, okay, that's why we do it, and okay, that's why I'll probably do it again next year.
It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
So much.
Commissioner Herzog?
Thanks, President Zimmerman, and thanks for being here, Mike. And I guess the one thing I notice when it's in town, and we track the economic impact of things, and I'll look at the software that we use to look at where people are going, and there's always this big spike at the end of June at, you know, the Elbow Room, or, you know, the bars and the restaurants downtown, the hotels. So beyond the charitable impact, your business impact is huge, and it's a big thing for small retailers to restaurants and bars. So, I mean, it's a fantastic weekend for Bismarck and Mandan in a bunch of regards, but the business community always looks forward to it too. So appreciate all your work and your volunteers' work, and I'll be there. And I've got a huge bag of sunflower seeds ready to boogie.
There you go. Thank you.
Mike, if I might, I would echo Commissioner Herzog and the other commissioners, but certainly the financial impact, I see that in the community. It's a pride of the Bismarck-Mandan communities to utilize it. So my congrats there. I want to take this time in advance to thank our staff that's going to put in the extra hours dragging the fields, cleaning it. So thank you all in advance for those that may be watching, or David, please extend that on behalf of all the commissioners. That I know you're going to work hard that weekend. I've been down there and it's been rainy fields to take care of, and people are not happy, and then there's hot weekends. So thank you to our staff and, you know, everybody who'll be pitching in on that. I just wanted, our Boy Scout troop, the troop I'm with, has done the home run derby for like 20-some years. And the boys, they literally fight to do that, and because they always are waiting for the time that a home run is knocked out of the field and hits a car on the expressway, because they can hear it. It's like, okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I hit cars on the expressway. But I know that this year, too, will be perhaps the first use of the Stack Shack for the McQuaid tournament. So my thanks for all the efforts you did and others in having that facility ready for all these umpires that will be here.
Yeah, that has worked out amazing. We got to use it last year, starting with our state tournaments, and we've had one tournament already this year, and it's amazing facility. It's air conditioned when it gets hot, and it's got a heater when it gets cold, and so that has been really a godsend to our umpires, and it's even extended beyond that. We kind of let the fast pitch group come in and use a little bit of it when we have their big fast pitch tournament, whether it's a state or their invitational, and let them set up in there too. So it's become a multi-purpose room, and we're very glad to share it with whoever needs to share it.
But Mike, before we get away, I do have one other honor I wanted to tell to all the folks here in Bismarck community to recognize Mike has worked at the highest levels in slow pitch softball for the American Softball Association, including the men's major and men's super national championships. A great accomplishment for his umpire career was that Mike worked 7 national championships and was selected for the championship game for 6 of them. His umpire career included serving as the umpire-in-chief for the USA Softball of North Dakota since 2004 and was a deputy umpire-in-chief for several years before that. As great as Mike's accomplishments are in the American Softball Association and USA Softball, one has to start with his involvement in the annual McQuaid Charity Softball Tournament, where he serves as the tournament director and umpire-in-chief for over 30 years. Mike is passionate about softball and the umpire program nationally and locally. And in recognition of his passion and commitment, Mike was recently inducted in the class of 2024 National Softball Hall of Fame on October 26th in Oklahoma City. I wanted to read that specific. Mike, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And again, that's a lot of other people helping me along the way, too. Can't do things by yourself, so. And I would thank you for, I did want to emphasize, too, the staff that you do have for Parks and Rec that Kevin has. And it's great. People love coming here because the fields are always in tip-top shape. They love the facilities. And that's another reason why teams like to come to Bismarck to play, whether it's the McQuaid or state tournaments or weekend tournaments. So we really appreciate them, and we work well with them as well, too. So.
Well, thank you, Mike, and we're crossing our fingers for good weather for the weekend.
That's your job.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Our next item is the 2024 audited financial statements. Mindy Piatz with Brady Martz will present our audited financial statements. Good evening, Mindy, and welcome.
Good evening. Just getting set up here. Okay, there we go. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Mindy Piatz with Brady Martz, and we'll be going over the audit results for the Park District for 2024. So we'll go over the opinions and reports that we issue. Next, go over some financial highlights, and then wrap up with some required items that we communicate at the end of the audit. So first off, the overall objective of the audit, we do have guidelines that we have to follow by our professional standards. Those include generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. The purpose of the audit is to obtain a reasonable but not absolute assurance and provide that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. I'd also remind you that the audit is not designed to detect fraud. However, if we do become aware of fraud, we are required to communicate that with the board. So for 2024, we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. The unmodified is basically a clean opinion, meaning that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide on the financial statements. Additionally, because the audit is conducted in accordance with government auditing standards, we issue another report for performing the audit in accordance with those standards. As part of that, we are required to review internal controls, and if we become aware of any kind of deficiencies or material weaknesses, we would note them in that report. But again, that one is also unmodified, so a clean opinion. No issues were noted during the audit. Next, going over some financial highlights. So the blue is 2024 cash and investment position, and then the green is 2023. I'll just go over the more significant changes by fund. The first one, general fund cash. So last year it was approximately $4.9 million, ending at almost $7 million this year. That is up due mostly just due to the increase in fund balance for the general fund. I'll go over the general fund in a little bit more details, but it was just a better financial year for the general fund. And then the Park Improvement Fund had a drastic decrease. So last year there was a bond that was issued. Those projects were obviously worked on and completed or close to complete this year. So that's the substantial change there. And similarly with the construction fund, using money for projects this year. So that's why that has decreased. Next, looking at revenues and expenses by fund. As I mentioned earlier, the general fund had just more money coming in than expenses going up. So looking at that, total revenues, it really was in multiple areas. Charges for services were up. I think golf specifically was up a little bit. Property taxes came in a little higher. It wasn't really one specific thing, and I literally went line by line on the financials just saying like, okay, what jumped out? But overall, just a lot of that, and then expenses really were kept maintained year over year. It wasn't a large percentage increase there. And then obviously the Park Improvement Fund, less revenues coming in. Last year they had that bond issue, and so a lot more expenses going out this year. Looking at total expenditures for the general fund, so for fiscal year 2024, total expenditures were approximately $19.4 million. And when I say controlling expenses, it was only a 3% increase from last year. So given the market and the economy and everything going on in the world today, that's pretty commendable to the staff at the Park District to keep that at 3%. And then you have an influx in use of the pools and golf courses with that too. So the largest expenses for the Park District in the general fund, general maintenance was at 19% or $3.7 million. And then other recreational activities was at 14%. And then golf was at 12% or about $2.4 million this year. Next, looking at the composition of fund balance. So within each fund, there's different varying degrees of the fund balance or the residual equity for those funds. And they're categorized by their purpose and how you can use them. So the general fund, you'll see the bulk of that is a light blue color. So that's unassigned, so you can use that for general park operations. There is a small amount in the general fund that's committed, and that's money that's been set aside by the park board for the golf dome, I believe, because you can't receive insurance on that. So just setting money aside for replacement of that in the future. And then the other funds have, the dark blue is restricted. So the restricted residual equity, that is money that you can spend, but for specific purposes. Obviously, in the special assessment fund and the construction fund for park improvements or general capital projects. And then the committed and assigned, those are just varying degrees of how whether it was the board's intention or management's intention. You can use that money. It's just saying we have this extra money, we're going to use it for a different purpose, or saying what you're going to use it for. Okay, next moving on to the debt. So no new debt this year for the Park District, but the balances are on the screen above. All the debt this year did go down with payments, and then you can see the projected schedule of principal and interest going forward. Those tables, the table on the right side, it's multiple years at the end. It doesn't actually get to be more. It's just multiple years are combined, and that's how it's presented in the financial statements. But on average, I think it's about $4 to $4.5 million every year annually what's owed in debt right now. Okay, looking at the general fund, the budget versus actual. So the blue is the budgeted amount, and then green is actual. So it actually swung in the right way both ways. So there was more revenue coming in than what was budgeted for, and then expenses were less than what was budgeted for. Lastly, just want to go over some items that we are required to communicate with the board upon completion of our audit. So as part of our audit, we do look at estimates and making sure that those are reasonable and the assumptions going into them are reasonable for the financials and the users. Really, the Park District only has two significant ones, and those are for the net pension liability and then the OPEB liability, which is the other post-employment benefits calculation. During the audit, we didn't note that there were any unusual transactions. We didn't have any difficulties in conducting the audit, nor did we have any disagreements with management. As part of the audit, we did have one uncorrected misstatement. So that was just an item or difference that we came across that we did not post and correct in the actual financial statements. And it wasn't posted just because it wasn't material. So it was just passed on. And then lastly, as part of the audit, we do request management representations from management, basically just asserting that they have given us full access to everything and that everything's recorded in accordance with GAAP to their knowledge. So with that, my contact information is on the screen if anybody does have questions later and wants to get a hold of me. Other than that, I just want to thank Kevin and Kathy for their work. It's a quick turnaround process, but the staff does a great job in responding to our requests. And I'm happy to answer any questions commissioners might have.
Questions, commissioners? Well, Mindy, I want to thank you. I often say I'm not a financial genius, but it's great to have the explanation of it, and it looks to me like the district's in good financial shape.
Yeah, yep, I would agree with that.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you. But before you go, while we're on the subject, I too want to thank Kathy, Kevin, Julie, all the staff that had their input on the audit. It's great when I look at it to see, yeah, the district is in good shape, and we've, in light of legislative action and that's going to give pause for us to be looking maybe a little closer at the budget. It's great to have a good audit report as we move forward. So thank you for your time, and thank you to your company as well.
Thank you.
Executive Director Klipfeld, any other comments on the audit that you wish to?
No, I guess we just want a motion to accept the audit.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the audit as presented by Brady Martz?
I'll move to accept the 2024 audited financial statements and the audit from Brady Martz.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Herzog, seconded by Commissioner Gilbertson to accept the audit as presented by Brady Martz. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson,
Aye.
Herzog,
Yes.
Redmond,
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Our next item on the agenda is disposition of bids. Our first one is the VFW Sports Complex Painting Project. Jeff Ubel with Ubel Design Group will give us an update. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, President Zimmerman, Commissioners. Good to see you all. As indicated, I'm here to present the bids for the repainting of the VFW. So this is interior painting of what essentially is Rink 1 and the supporting spaces. On May 6th at 11 a.m., we received bids at the Bismarck Parks and Recreation District office. At that time, we received two bids. For the first time, I think I've been doing this for close to 30 years, and I've never seen bids that are actually this close, ever. We received one bid from Oxentenko for $155,500, and we received a second bid from Roy H. Dietz and Sons for $156,000. At this time, we're recommending acceptance of the bids to Oxentenko for $155,500. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from Commissioner Herzog?
I just had, thanks, Jeff and President Zimmerman, Commissioners. I had one question I had asked Kevin, but just for everyone's, who's listening, because I'm sure there's people watching. We had the budgeted amount that we had for this project was kind of close to the bids. It was $140,000.
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, yes, the budget amount for this project was $140,000.
Thank you.
Commissioner Redmond?
No. I would move for approval to extend the bid to Oxentenko Incorporated for $155,500 for the painting of VFW Sports Center.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Redmond, second by Commissioner Herzog to accept the bid of $500 from Oxentanko and Sons for the painting of the interior at VFW Sports. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson,
Aye.
Herzog,
Yes.
Redmond,
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. The next item on the approval of bids is for the McDowell Dam Playground Project. Our Operations Director, David Mayer, will provide us the update on that project. David, good evening.
Good evening, President Zimmerman and Commissioners. Exactly, the McDowell Dam Playground Project. The project is to construct a brand-new playground out near Shelter 3 at McDowell Dam on the property. New sidewalks, new playground equipment, few benches, and eventually we'll put some additional planting in. That'll be by staff later at a different time. But we did open bids. We received 2 bids and opened them on May 6th at 1:30. And it is, after review, is staff's recommendation to award the project to Paramount Builders, Inc. in the amount of $129,658.
Questions for David on that? Commissioner Gilbertson?
President Zimmerman, Dave is close to budget.
President Zimmerman, Commissioners, Commissioner Gilbertson, it is, depending on which version of the budget or the estimate that we put together, we're right in the middle. We had some varying estimates that we put together. I think we budgeted around $120,000 for it, but this project was submitted for a Garrison Diversion Conservancy District grant, and we were successful in that, so it'll bring it back underneath the budgeted amount. I did have an opportunity to discuss with the Burley County Water Resource District Board yesterday morning and shared with them the good news on this, and they were excited for the project as well.
Commissioner Herzog, do you have a question?
I was going to make a motion unless there's other.
David, I have a question. To clarify, this is a completely new playground, not a replacement?
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, yes, it is a brand-new playground. New location. We're not replacing the old one with a new playground. It's in addition to the playground that's out there.
How many playground areas do we already have at McDowell? Do you know offhand?
There is one. We only
One
have one
additional.
playground, yes.
Okay. Any further questions? If not, a motion to accept the bids. Do we have a motion?
I'd move to approve that we accept the bids for the McDowell Dam Playground, Paramount Builders in the amount of $129,658.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Herzog, second by Commissioner Redmond to accept the bid on the McDowell Dam Playground project. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson,
Aye.
Herzog,
Yes.
Redmond,
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Our next one is also, David will give us a review on the General Sibley Playground project. David?
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, yes, we also went out for bid on the replacement of the 2 to 5 playground in the day use park at General Sibley. We, on the same date, at roughly the same time, opened bids for that project. We had 4 bidders for that project. Our recommendation, and we broke that into 2 different pieces. We did the playground equipment replacement and then delivery and supplying the engineered wood fiber, which is the surfacing that goes down underneath the playground. We break them into 2 when it's, generally we've broken them into 2 when it's just a playground replacement. We can see a little bit more of a competitive bid that way that we found. So that's why I'll be making 2 recommendations. But the recommendation for the playground installation goes to Weber Recreation in the amount of $43,741, and the engineered wood fiber surfacing goes to recommendation goes to Dakota Playground in the amount of $4,678.
Any questions for David on that project? All right, I would look for a motion, please.
My question, President
Oh, yes,
Zimmerman,
go
and
ahead,
I'm not sure if this is
Commissioner.
for Dave. Would you need 2 motions on this, or can they be put in one motion? And Executive Director Clipfield, do you have a preference on that?
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, that could be made in one motion.
Okay.
In one motion?
I would move that we award the bid for the playground equipment to Weber Recreation and for the fiber surface to Dakota Playground.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Redmond, second by Commissioner Gilbertson for the General Sibley Playground Project. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson,
Aye.
Herzog,
Yes.
Redmond,
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Thank you, David. We'll look forward to new playground equipment.
Just waiting for the next one, President Zimmerman.
Who's next?
Oh, I'm looking ahead to Mike there, looking at Mike. Sorry, Mike. All right, item 7, maybe I better get into the optometrist. Item 7, consideration of agreements. Companion agreement with the city of Bismarck. David, my apologies, but please take that item as well.
Not a problem, President Zimmerman. In your packet is a companion agreement for consideration by the board. If you remember last year, there was a matching grant project for a mural in the Expressway underpass. That is not owned by the Park District. We simply maintain conveyance through there and make sure that it's clean and ready for the citizens to use. It is owned by the North Dakota DOT and managed by the city of Bismarck. So when we presented the idea for the mural, it had to go through a few extra channels. The DOT had to approve it. The DOT writes their approval to the city of Bismarck, and essentially this is a pass-through agreement similar to what we do with the TA grant funding, so that we accept the responsibility that the city of Bismarck is accepting from the DOT. So that's what this, I'm trying to summarize it. I might have made it a little more confusing, but trying to summarize what it is, essentially we're taking responsibility for the mural installation and the maintenance of it, and it's not the city's responsibility.
Any questions for David on that? Commissioner Redmond?
Dave, was it approved at the May 13th meeting? That was in the memo that was going to be, whether it was approved by the
I believe
city?
it was, yes.
Yay.
Sorry.
Other questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I move to approve the companion agreement for the Expressway Underpass Tunnel mural with the city and DOT and everybody else that's in it.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Herzog, seconded by Commissioner Redmond. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson,
Aye.
Herzog,
Yes.
Redmond,
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Now we'll call up Mike Wald. Mike has a presentation on the concession extension addendum with the Bismarck Hockey Boosters. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, President Zimmerman and Commissioners. In your packet's a memo from the Executive Director of the Bismarck Hockey Boosters requesting a one-year extension to their current concessions agreement that they have with us to provide concessions at the Capitol Ice Complex. Again, that option is also in their agreement for that extension, and the period of time for that extension would be September 1 of 2025 through August 31st of 2026, and staff does recommend approval of this extension.
Any questions for Mike on that agreement with the Hockey Boosters? Mike, Mike, I had a question. Do we have any input, any oversight on the financial aspects of it and what the agreement calls to be paid to the district, to the extent of their own financial management or mismanagement at some time? Is there ever, if you see where I'm going here with it, if there's ever a question of how they were managing this operation, what's the liability or what's the involvement of the Park District to that?
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, in the proposal of their agreement, there is a percentage that we ask of sales come back to the Park District. They do provide us financial statements of the sales, commission sales every month, and we base that commission off of that, what their percentage that they sold coming back to us.
Okay. But let's say to the extent if there was ever a question on their financial operation, we're not involved in that.
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, I do not believe so. That's all on them.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike on that? I have a motion for that.
President Zimmerman.
Commissioner
I move
Gilbertson.
to approve the one-year extension for the concession agreement with the Bismarck Hockey Boosters.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Herzog, motion by Commissioner Gilbertson, second by Commissioner Herzog. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson.
Aye.
Herzog.
Yes.
Redmond.
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Mike, the next one is the Bare Knuckle Baseball and Northwoods League addendum to the facilities information. Mike, if you'll take over, please.
Sure. President Zimmerman and Commissioners, in your packet is an addendum to the Bare Knuckle Baseball and Northwoods League use agreement. Due to the addition of the artificial turf, we looked at just adding some changes to that statement of liability, who's responsible for any damage, and that's in that addendum right now, just to cover any incidents that would happen to the artificial turf versus natural grass turf.
Questions for Mike? Mike, while we're talking on the turf, how is it holding up? I know there's been games on it.
President Zimmerman and Commissioners, the comments have been very positive. I think staff has done a very nice job adjusting to the maintenance that needs to be done, and it's obviously different than the agri-lime that's there and the grass that used to be there and the grass that used to be there. But yeah, it looks beautiful. It's green all the time, and the comments have been very positive.
I'm going to put you on the spot with the rain the last 2 days. When's the next game? Because I know that's been an issue. If the field is wet, then we're not having a game. We're going to have a test here of how soon we can get back on the field.
Well, President Zimmerman and Commissioners, I did look at the schedule for the ballpark yesterday, and there are games scheduled for tomorrow and through the weekend. So we should be playing if it doesn't rain too hard. The activities have a rule depending on the air temperature and that sort of thing, and I suppose how hard it's actually raining, whether they'll play, but the field should be ready.
Thank you. I will look then for a motion on the acceptance of the Bare Knuckle Baseball and Northwood League addendum.
President Zimmerman, just a quick question.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Commissioner Herzog.
Do other groups that use the turf field, then will they also be in some sort of agreement, BPS or whatever, that if it's damaged, that they're responsible?
President Zimmerman, Commissioner Herzog, Commissioners, yes, they're in their current agreement right now. Okay, we'll take a look at what the wordage is in there. The Larks in the Northwoods League, they do a lot of different activities on the field than what the high school and Legion teams do, but we'll definitely take a look at that, and if we need to make any changes, we'll make those changes for the next use agreements.
Okay. Then I would move to approve as presented. I do see it has fireworks in here, so yeah, you pointed that out, but I would move to approve.
Second to the motion?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Herzog, second by Commissioner Gilbertson to accept the Bare Knuckle Baseball and Northwood League addendum. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson.
Aye.
Herzog.
Yes.
Redmond.
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the April 17th board minute meetings.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Redmond, second by Commissioner Gilbertson to approve the board minute meetings of April 17th. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson.
Aye.
Herzog.
Yes.
Redmond.
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is approval of bills.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gilbertson, second by Commissioner Redmond for approval of bills. Julie, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gilbertson.
Aye.
Herzog.
Yes.
Redmond.
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is an executive session under the authority of North Dakota Century Code, Section 4404-19.1 and 44-04-19.2 for attorney consultation with the board's attorney and to discuss contract negotiation for the sale of Hay Creek lots. This item may be discussed in an executive session. The legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code Sections 4404-19.1 and 4404-19.2. The topic of purpose of this executive session is for attorney consultation with the board's attorney and to discuss contract negotiation for sale of Hay Creek lots. At this time, a motion would be in order to discuss the next topic in executive session rather than in an open meeting. Is there such a motion? A second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Julie, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gilbertson,
Aye.
Herzog,
Yes.
Redmond,
Aye.
President Zimmerman.
Aye, motion carried. The executive session will be recorded, and all members of the governing body are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. The prohibition of taking final action during the executive session does not allow to providing guidance or instructions to our attorney or negotiator. We will now ask the members of the public who are attending the meeting to leave the room. We anticipate adjourning the executive session and the meeting concurrently, as no further business will be conducted, as this is the last agenda item on this month's meeting. The minutes will show that the executive session began at 6:04 p.m. and was attended by Commissioners Gilbertson, Redmond, Herzog, and President Zimmerman.